Tyson.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Can't get enough baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There is absolutely nobody on the planet I'd rather be talking to right now than Ryan Divish. Fact. Hey man, what's going on? How you doing?
Living the dream, you're living the Sky Club dream. I'm living Havre, Montana, population 6,000.
Okay. Why? Well, I can tell you why I'm in the Sky Club. Why are you in Montana?
So I was born and raised in Havre, Montana, and it's about 25 miles from the Canadian border. And my girlfriend lives here in Havre with her 2 kids. So in the off seasons, I come to Havre instead of staying in Seattle or Tacoma where I lived at. I come here and hang out here and do my work from here all off season. And I used to do it even before I met this girl, but before I met Cindy, my girlfriend, probably soon to be my wife here. I got to get around to asking her, but
breaking news. We're open for that sort of breaking news here. If you want to do it, it's up to you.
I can't do the Christmas proposal, so I'm trying to figure out the right time. We've been dating basically for 5 years, so it's probably time, But no, I've been coming here. My parents used to call it a reality check for me when I would come home from the season. I grew up in a small town, so dealing with traffic and airports and city life, I need a little break. And then this has been really great for me. My paper has been great about letting me do this. With COVID, everything kind of changed. And so my paper has been really great about and not that I ever went into her office anyways, but letting me spend most of my off season here. It's a little odd, if given the opportunity to spend your off season somewhere, the winter somewhere, most people would choose Arizona. I choose Havre, where it's traditionally one of the coldest places on the planet most days. But it's good. It's my way to kind of reset and recharge and get ready for spring training, which is coming faster than I thought.
I should know this. Besides yourself, who is the most notable athlete or athletes from Montana? I would imagine you are, because I know you're a good athlete. So
yeah.
in Havre, Montana, congratulations on the wall. That's how you got your girlfriend, soon to be wife. Hey, I don't know if you know this, it was a pretty big deal. But who in Montana? Who's the Montana people?
So probably one of our most famous athletes is Ryan Leaf. He's from Great Falls, Montana. Played some AAU hoops with him, I think, at one point. I've known him pretty much my whole life. He has cousins that live in Havre. They were quarterbacks too, so I've known Ryan. He's probably one of the more famous ones. Well, obviously, Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam, the bassist for Pearl Jam, was born in Havre, lived in Big Sandy, Montana, population about 250 right down the road. Played hoops with him a lot. Great dude, one of the best guys ever. A huge sports fan, more basketball than baseball, but great sports fan. So they're probably right up there. I'm trying to think. There's only been a handful of big leaguers from Montana. Dave McNally being probably the best, the Orioles pitcher. He's from Billings.
Orioles, yeah.
Jeff Ballard was from Billings as well. He was with the Orioles. Cam Nicolaio was with the Orioles as well. Rob Johnson, Cam Nicolaio and Rob Johnson, who I coached Legion baseball against. They both made it to the big leagues. They don't have high school baseball in Montana. They just got it 2 years ago. They only have Legion baseball, American Legion. They don't have high school.
Is that true? Is that true? Is it why? Because this would be so obscenely short?
Yeah, and just money and everything else. They just finally got baseball in 2 years ago, but only maybe 25 schools participate in high school baseball.
Wow.
just because of the difficulties of the season, the travel, everything else. And you're talking about school size as well. You're picking from a smaller group because other kids are doing track or other spring sports as well.
Wow. Again, we could talk all day. We've talked a lot about this. We talked to George Springer. This isn't apples to apples, but George Springer about going to a cold weather college, being in cold weather. This is, and you've covered this game long enough that like this is you're 3 steps behind. When for those kids, that's a lot of reasons why they go down to IMG or whatever it is in Florida. But it's a very real thing, and it makes it even more challenging when there's absolutely no high school baseball team to play for. So listen,
well, it's like,
so we'll get.
There's
Go
not
ahead.
there's not showcases around as much or anything like that. So I call him my stepson, but my girlfriend's son Tyson, he's 17, 6'1", he's big, he's physical, he hits the ball really hard, but like, trying to get him on the radar for colleges and stuff is difficult because we're up here. The Legion season starts in April and we play, but there's just not a lot of eyes on you. I mean, same thing that happened to me. And so we're obviously looking at that for a senior year, or, what showcases can we take him to, what camps down in Arizona, all these things just to give him an opportunity, because you're right. You don't see it. I remember Jared Kelnick grew up in Wisconsin when there was no high school baseball, but he didn't play Legion either. He never played. I don't believe that Jared ever played Little League baseball either. He was kind of he played
Wow.
early on. He played early on and was kind of a prodigy. And then he was also homeschooled, so he trained a lot, and then he would go on all these travel teams all over to the South and everything. His parents spent the money driving to Chicago or wherever, and he would travel all over. So I remember Scott Service made the point one time when the Mariners made the playoffs, that it was the first time that Jared Kelnick played in games that were meaningful to like
Wow.
postseason style games, because he did play for Team USA and such, but it was always guys you're brought in together. He was kind of a
Mm.
hired gun to go play in these games.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. See, there you go. So you need to explain why you're in Montana. I'm in the Delta Club now, which is a fantastic place, I guess. Free cookies and free vodka sodas. But I'm here because I just got back from LA. Got a tattoo. We documented it on the podcast. Went to hook up with Joe Kelly and Mr. Cartoon, a guy who's done you name the celebrity, he's done them. Which it was, and Ryan, it was just such a trip. It was, I was there for 18 hours, but I would have done it all again. So do you? I was trying to think. Do you have any tats at all? This was my first. This is my first.
Yeah, I have a script level D for Divish on my leg. It looks a lot like the Detroit Tigers D. I got it when I was 18 years old. I got it on my outside of my leg, left leg. I didn't tell my parents, though I used their credit card to pay for it. It hurt, and I didn't enjoy it. I don't know what hurt worse, the outlining or having my leg at the angle. I think I'll probably get another one at some point, maybe on my shoulder. I had a shoulder surgery, so I thought about getting a tattoo to cover up some of the scarring on there. But yeah, it's such a big deal. I remember when was it Elvis Andrews? He got a tattoo down at spring training, and then he couldn't play the next day because it was all swollen. And I remember Felix got one on his pitching hand, and it was all swollen down it. And then they're like, "What the hell were you thinking?" This is but this guy Oni, I think his name was, who was Dimitri Young's personal tattoo artist that became really big with baseball players. He came in, and so these guys schedule them all out, and they do it a lot in the spring. It's, tattoos, they fly in a guy, and haircuts, they fly in a guy. That's when you've reached a new level.
Well, there's a image of me getting my tat. So Joe went first, and then I went to get the baseballs and boring tattoo. And in the background, Joe sitting in a barber chair because, as you said, listen, you can't do one without the other. So there you go.
Yeah,
but it was I did it on the inside of my bicep, which people say, "Oh, that's painful." It was pain. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, it was painful, sure, but price of excellence, I guess.
Yeah.
But so go hard or go home. Speaking of going hard or go home, let's get to the meat and potatoes of what's going on. I feel like the Mariners are sort of the hub of the universe when it comes to the offseason, bizarrely. As someone who's covering him, does it feel that way for you? Because sometimes, maybe not with Jerry Depoto, because you've been covering him for so long and he's always going to do something. But does it feel like you guys are everything is sort of siphoned through the Mariners this offseason?
Yeah, it's like it's. I feel like I'm Judge Smales in Caddyshack, and he does a well, we're waiting. Like I'm looking at Jerry over his putt, like because like it is in that way. I mean, think about this: like Jerry Depoto, who's made like 178 trades, hasn't made a trade this offseason. He's made, I guess he did make a trade for Austin Shenton, but that was a guy who's DFA'd and, kind of almost essentially like a waiver claim. And then he's, just made a waiver claim today, but that's it. Like he's made no major transactions to his 40 man. And this is a man that can't sit still and loves to tinker with the roster. I do think that GM Justin Hollander and then special assistant or assistant GM Dave Cameron have kind of got him to settle down on some of the tinkering. They're
Yeah.
really smart guys, but no, because like, and this, we were at the winter meetings, and everybody like the day that Max Fried agreed to that contract, I I said to my buddy Adam Jude, was with me, who covers with me at the Times, I just said, the Mariners have to explore trading Castillo. If Max Fried got 210 million over 7 years or whatever it was, or 218 million, all of a sudden like Luis Castillo looks really affordable. And like
Hmm.
Burns had a limited market of where he wanted to go. Walker Bueller, you don't know. I was just like, oh my God, the Mariners, they don't want to trade any of these guys, but they have to look because this may be an opportunity for them to get more than what they normally would get. And, then the news started to leak that they were starting to listen more. And I do feel like everybody's just kind of waiting on them to decide what they're going to do with Castillo so they can move on as well. But the Mariners are kind of like, well, we don't have to do that because we don't really want to trade him. We don't really have to trade him. But if
Hmm.
you're willing to give us something that's more than we thought, then we'll do it. And I think that's where they're at. They're waiting for Burns to get, figure out what he wants to do. And Bueller and Castillo are different because of the length of the deal. But like to the Red Sox, to the Dodgers, the Phillies, he probably wouldn't go to the Yankees because he'd have to cut his dreads. But like teams that are trying to compete that have money, he is very attractive. One, because he takes the ball. 22.75 a year is not a lot of money in that regard for a frontline pitcher. And he's only 3 years. It's a 3-year commitment. Like
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing. What is the old saying? There's no such thing as a bad 1-year contract. Well, for a starting pitcher, 3 years, that's ideal. You're not committing to anything, and if you do have up and coming pitchers coming, you can make a move. I mean, I think that's why the Mariners love it. They have some guys in their org that could be pretty good in 3 years, and that would be about the time he's going to be done with the contract.
So when you look at all those pitchers, because there's like this, the way it's perceived with the Mariners is this the embarrassment of riches. That you have all these starters, but from your perspective, yeah, you could trade any of them, sure. But Castillo's the guy. Castillo's the sort of the most logical guy. If you are going to do that, you're going to make that move. He's going to be the guy. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, because he's owed the most money. The
Mm-hmm.
Mariners, for reasons passing my understanding, still have money issues. And so they're not, they only have right now, based on what we were told from sourcing, and is that their budget is going to be about 155 million. Well, they're at 140 right now projected. So they have $15 million to work with, and they need a first baseman, a second baseman, and a third baseman, and that's not going to work for $15 million. So moving Luis Castillo does get you some things. And for whatever reason, I think you probably saw this too. Like prospects aren't moving right now because there aren't that many
Mm-hmm.
teams rebuilding. So there's not people willing to take some of the Mariners prospects that are pretty good. And the Mariners have one of the top systems, but it's just not any prospects are really being moved right now. So
So when you look at potentially making that deal, another simplistic way to look at it, which is a logical way to look at it, is yeah, you have all this pitching, but you need, as you said, you know what you need, right? And it's not to, hey, we want a double A first baseman. No, we want a player who can hit the ball because we need players who can hit the ball. For you, what position or what player would you think is like that they are looking at the most? Because obviously, you hear a lot about the Cassis thing, and that's first base. Sure, he can hit the ball out of the park. That's fine, but maybe they want to prioritize another position. I mean, where do you think they're coming from, and what they want for Castillo?
I think that you're right. They want major league talent, and they would want a guy that can bat in the middle of the order or the top 5 spots in the order. You don't want a guy that isn't, fringy. And they need a power quotient. I don't think they're position specific as like the absolute. I think they felt like if they had to go free agent market, there was enough to choose from on the free agent market at first base, in the lower levels, like whether it's Justin Turner or Carlos Santana, who I thought they were going to sign before the meetings and just didn't materialize. Those type of guys, because you can kind of run a little platoon with Luke Raley, who had a really nice year for them. I thought you could do that, and then maybe you trade for the second baseman or the third baseman. Not a great free agent class for either of those regards. I mean, like you're talking Brandon Drury and some of those guys. It's not a great free agent class. So I thought maybe that's kind of how they would do it is make sign a first baseman and then make the trade for a second baseman or a third baseman. But at this point, they can't be picky if that's if the Red Sox were interested in Casas for a Castillo, the Mariners probably want a sweetener in it, somebody else who could help them maybe at the MLB level. That maybe get done. They had some interest in Gavin Lux. They've had some interest in Nico Horner. Those are all fits. Alec Boehm they were linked to early on in the off season. It's funny that Phillies come out and say, "Oh no, we don't want to trade Alec Boehm. We never wanted to." It's like, no, you did. You just didn't get what you wanted. So now it's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, how many? I mean, with all due respect to the Phillies saying that, we've had like five verified trades that Alec Bohm were in, or at least
yeah,
offered for. But
yeah,
that's how it works, right?
yeah.
So, I do want to ask in terms of, you had mentioned Justin Hollander and these guys really of basically holding Jerry Depoto back. This, for you, it's a challenge. I give you all the credit in the world. You do such a good job in one of the most challenging organizations because you can't go to sleep.
Mhm.
If you're in Montana, you're in Seattle, whatever, because the guy's making trades, always has made trades. When do you think they release the Jerry Depoto hounds? When do they say, okay, Jerry, go forth? Or when does Jerry decide he's going to break free of his shackles? Because he's going to do it, right? I mean, he's going to do it.
Oh yeah, I mean they're gonna do something. I don't know. He has a tendency to do stuff the night before a holiday. A few years ago, like 6 or 7 years ago, he made the trade where he sent Taiwan Walker and Ketel Marte and another guy to Arizona for Gene Segura, Mitch Haniger, and somebody else. It's like a six or seven play at like 9 p.m. the night before Thanksgiving. And how it is, and night before Thanksgiving, you want to go out and drink with your boys and everything. So you're, perfectly hungover for that Lions game early in the morning. I'm sitting there writing and drinking beer. I just finally call my buddies like I'm not going out. I remember I was staying at my parents. My mom's like, they made a trade at 9 o'clock at night, the night before Thanksgiving. And then last year the Mariners, the news broke on the Mariners reaching an agreement on a free agent contract with Mitch Garver on Christmas
Mm-hmm.
Eve. So like I'm at my girlfriend's, all the people are over, we're having pizza and drinking, and I got to work, And I texted Justin Hollander, I go, Christmas Eve, really? And he sends me a text back. He goes, I'm Jewish, go to work. I was like, okay, well, and so yeah, it was. So I'm expecting that it'll be something around the holiday or whatever. The market is, and I know Passon wrote something today, and I hadn't got a chance to read it, but it really dried up. Like there was that fury right after Soto signed,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything's dried up because I thought Burns, some of these guys would be done. Like we could move on, and it just hasn't gotten there. I don't know what the deal is, what the holdup is.
Well, I think the saving grace is that, a guy like Burns, it's not going to be a Montgomery situation. It's not going to be a Snell situation because like that's just not even an option anymore. I mean, Boris was burned too bad on the players were burned too bad at it, and that was the original thinking behind this offseason. They learned their lesson. They learned their lesson. But you're right. I mean, we're sitting here, and it feels like stuff is going to happen. But you, Ryan, you know this. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where you get to Christmas, you get the if you
You're
know
done.
we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done. I mean, those days are come and gone. I wish they were back. So,
I
but
wonder.
Yeah, go
Do
ahead.
you wonder if it's a Roki Sasaki thing for the pitching market? Like if teams are waiting to kind of feel where they're at? Because like from what it sounds like, everybody's submitting their initial proposals and they're going to whittle down the field, and then maybe the teams that aren't even in the second round of interviews or whatever, they start moving on that. Or
I would say yes, but I say that with the caveat of that. I don't think that, like, in other words, I don't think this is a Yamamoto situation where you're gonna have to spend a crap load of money, and that absolutely you're saying that guy's the top of the rotation guy. With Sasaki, it's money isn't an issue, so it's not like you're gonna be paying for this guy and sacrificing something else. And the other part about this is, as good as he is, there are some people say, well, it might take a little bit. It might take a little bit. So, I mean, this isn't Corbin Burns. Some people might think it is. I don't think it is. So, but, to your point, and the other part about this with Sasaki is Ryan, is that it is crazy and it's great how any team can get him. Like, hey, you want to talk about how we have more TrackMan machines than anybody else? Come on in. We're Kansas City. We're Minnesota, whatever it is. So, which is great. But yeah, I mean, it does. Maybe that's the case. It's just we just need something to happen. I mean, I really, really, really thought, to your point, I thought that the winter meetings were going to be more active. Listen, when did you get to Dallas? Sunday.
early Monday morning, I took the red eye.
Yeah, yeah. So like Soto's done. Usually we can ease into it, and or Soto, boom, 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 right away, and then here we go. And then what did we have after that? We had I'm trying to think, but well, it wasn't like, put it this way: the stage that we saw still wasn't used. Was it used once?
Just for Sasaki's agent, for Joel Wolf, and that was it.
That was it. That was it. I mean, so this promise of more just didn't happen. I want to come back to the Mariners. I go back to the middle of the season, leading into the deadline. They do stuff. Arozarena, Turner, these guys, and we're like, "Yay, good for you! You're being proactive." And they've had some really, really proactive. They've been all over the place. You have that Santana, deadline where you get the guy and they win a million games in a row. So they've been all over the place. Like, what is because they've almost been there, but they haven't quite been there. What is missing, do you think? Have they locked in on this? Is it just as simple as we just need better hitters? I mean, but something's just missing over the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's just that they need, the depth of their lineup has always been pretty weak, and for whatever reason, they strike out at such a rapid rate, and they strike out too much, and they don't hit enough homers, largely because of where they play. So it's like it's a bad combination, and their situational hitting was just marred by strikeouts. They get a leadoff double, and the guy wouldn't move because it's strikeout, fly out, or something like that. And that's the problem that they ran into, is the way their roster and their lineup was constructed, it wasn't enough consistent hitters in it, and guys that had an approach and had understanding, and part of it was they just failed to capitalize on making the postseason that year. They make the postseason. Cal Raleigh hits that homer against the A's to clinch. It's 21 years they hadn't been in the postseason. They get in, then they upset the Rays or the Blue Jays, and then got handled by the Astros. But everybody's like, everything around Seattle was great, and you've been there. Seattle's a great baseball town. Everybody's excited. Never seen so many Mariners hats and Julio shirts. And then they just have clunkers for offseason because they don't want to spend. It's like they didn't want to spend after the 22 season, because I don't know what the deal was there. And then after last season, after the 23, when they didn't make it, they had issues with their RSN and some uncertainty. So then they were like, well, we don't know. We can't invest too much because we don't know if the revenues we expected with our RSN are going to be here, because our viewership is going to be down. And so all that stuff, they're very, like, I think they want to win. I think that in their hearts, they want to win. I don't think they possess the courage that it takes to win, to take a risk. They're risk averse. You know, they
Mm,
they they only remember the bad deals. They don't remember the good. They don't remember the good that came from some bad deals as well. And so it's like they're risk averse into investing into the team and really only investing at their comfort level, which is whatever the revenues were from the year before. It's never like, okay, we had a down year in terms of revenues. Why don't the ownership group, we'll kick in some more money so we can get our payroll where we want, so we can get over the top. They never do that. They never take it personally when they don't make the postseason, and that's a problem. You listen to Middleton in Philly. You know,
mm,
he wants to win. I mean, Steve Cohen, say what you want about him, but like he wants to have that parade, and that's a big deal. And I think, um, they it's funny, like the Red Sox supposedly had money to spend and couldn't get guys to sign. The Mariners couldn't sign anybody. They didn't have any money to spend. And it's hard for them to attract free agent hitters too. They have to pay 20% over market value because of the reputation of the ballpark and hitting there. So I
mm,
think that hurts them as well. So they just haven't been able to put together an offense that looks even close to major league level. And then the guys that they have tried to bring in via trade or even free agent signing, just, you're kind of shopping at TJ Maxx instead of Nordstrom. And that's kind of what
mm,
you're getting is TJ Maxx results. Like they're just guys are 33, 34, injury history, all those things. And they don't produce, and that's been a problem. Like their assessment of major league talent on the hitting side has been really poor. And
mm,
you look at the
mm.
names, Jesse Winker, Colton Wong, second term with Mitch Haniger, Mitch Garver. I think who else. They've brought in a
Well, I
lot of
mean,
guys, and
the
they
guys
couldn't
they got
handle it.
last year, I mean, Arozarena and Turner, it's like it probably didn't translate exactly how,
No.
everyone was like, yay, yay. I was one of them. I mean, I thought Justin Turner was going to be a great acquisition, but, it is what it is. Um, so for you, last things for you, what is the thing that you think realistically they should do? Like we've heard maybe of some of the names that are out there, that are realistic free agents, are realistic trade people that we've talked about. For you, what is the thing that you say, okay, like for instance, in Boston, Crochet, right?
Mhm.
Everyone, no one's going to argue with that. Zero people are going to argue that. For you, what is the one that you're not going to argue with? Like, okay, do that, I'll be happy.
Huh. I'm looking at, like, I'm trying to find that guy. Like I thought Nico Horner would be a decent fit because he's athletic. They like athletic guys. And you could get something more along with Castillo, and then use that freed up money to go sign Christian Walker or somebody like that. Um, I thought that would be the most viable thing. It doesn't sound like that's going to happen. Cubs made that trade for Kyle Tucker, then dump Bellinger. I don't know where they're at. They don't even have a third baseman, so it's like that doesn't fit. I thought for a while, like maybe, because I think the Dodgers are kind of, I wouldn't say tired of Gavin Lux, but like the Dodgers, when they decide that you're not really a fit for them, even if you're talented, they just move on. Like that, like,
Mhm,
okay, whatever, you might be good. We're just done. It's like Verdugo, it's like Verdugo was talented, but kind of a pain in the ass. And they're just like, nope, we're just not going to deal with this. We'll
mhm,
use you to get something that we want, take advantage of a market, like, um, yeah, and that's a problem because there's a lot of teams that are trying to win right now. And so you
mhm,
can't even like a team like the Twins that aren't going to really add any payroll and maybe subtract, they still have enough there to compete, especially their division. So I thought that Horner, like trading Castillo for Horner and freeing up, an extra 10 million or 11 million dollars allows you to go after Christian Walker, who will probably get more than, like he's probably going to get 20 million a year. And
mhm.
you think, okay, he's 34, but that's what you have to pay, and that's what they would have to pay to get him to come to Seattle. So I that's I don't know. Like, I still think that cost. I don't think the Costas thing is dead. And I don't even know that they love Costas. I think he fits them because he has a left-handed swing. He's left-handed. He hits for power. In that park, that's the one place where you can really drive the ball at all times of the year is right field. But it's like the Mariners are kind of waiting on the Red Sox. Well, do they get Bregman? Does that mean that Devers moves over? How does that work? What do they do? I think it's the Mariners are controlling all of it, but a lot of their decisions are based off of what other teams are going to do too. Like I think if Bregman signs and Burns and just a couple signings will lead to more action. And it's just, I don't know. It's so weird. I mean, I know that no pitcher is ever going to do what happened to Snell and Montgomery. You talk
Yeah,
about,
but that's what I'm talking about. Like that's why all roads lead through Seattle. I mean, right? I mean, it's like you just spelled it out really well. Like all roads lead. Like yeah, okay, they have to react, but still, they're the ones who can react. They're the ones that can make big moves after these
yeah,
burns or whatever. So, yeah. Well, listen, I don't. At least you have the. I would imagine there's glorious landscapes and skies and
oh
everything
yeah.
else in Montana. So while you're gazing out the window, or is there snow there? Is there snow there
Oh
yet?
yeah, we got snow. It's only 7 degrees out. They don't show this stuff on Yellowstone, I might add, when it's like snowing like.
Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you taking the time, and you're one of the best. And so keep up the good work. And again, you're the straw that stirs the drink. Just remember that in so many ways, but also including like the team that you cover. So awesome stuff.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It's bucket list, and I mean, like always, like I met you through Drellick, and you're way better than Drellick. So it's like I mean, like it's tough, Rob being the best looking sports writer in Boston, but it's not a high bar either.
Yeah, well, I'm cutting all of that. Thank you very much. This is what was going to get highlighted, and now that I have a tattoo, I've taken 20 years off. So it's Drellick. Yeah, I'm not even. That's a whole nother podcast. We're going to do a podcast with Dress, just you, me, and him. So
Yeah, that would sound good. Where I make fun of his clothing for a good dressing like an uncle that I never
we
wanted.
had a we had I don't know if we was on that together if you were there, but I had a radio show with Evan, and they literally had to bring somebody else in. They had to bring somebody else in with us because we were just yelling at each other the entire time. There was no moderator.
That's
Yeah.
even better.
So,
Even
so
better.
it cost the company even more money. But yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, man. Take it easy.